course, as men, we do not care about income or height. That's really big because we don't care about income and we don't care about height. No. So it was 14% of the female population versus 0.6% of the male population. And these women, they were going to lock these dudes down. And going back to
because you just said something I think is important. Because you said the reason you've had success in that arena with those things, or the reason the promoters come back to you, is because they see that you're unique.
Yeah.
How do you form uniqueness of individuals when they're running through your programs? For example, like it's so funny. I'm not comparing you to this, but it's just the thought that I had when you were coming on, which is Neil Strauss's book, The Game, about that lunatic guy, Mystery.
Oh, I'm interviewing Mystery in like 3 weeks.
Awesome. There you go. So, but if you remember, he had that show on VH1, which was like super captivating. Like it was just fascinating.
Cosmo, who the guy who won the first season, he comes here all the time. I talked to him about a month ago.
But it was just fascinating to watch that, right? But it seemed to me that through that program of what they were trying to do, he was trying to spin off like clones. And you just said how important it is to be unique and have individuality.
Yeah.
So how do you continue to establish that through what you do, through teaching these guys the skills, but finding their own way to get there?
Do you understand? Like, so the top 17% of the male population makes more than $100,000 a year.
I love this. I love when you did this to those girls on your podcast. I saw this.
The top 1% is, I think, 640,000, somewhere between 540 and 600,000, I think, is the top 1% of wage earners. I think being successful makes you unique because very few people are, number one. And I also think as a man, like either men are too much or too little. They're too meek and they get put in the friend zone, or they're creepy as fuck. And there's this thing where it's like you clearly and totally understand how to communicate with women and understand female nature without being more female-like. Meaning you make you know what I do with my girlfriend yesterday? We watch football. We watch I watch highlights.
Me and my wife watch football.
Because I still maintain boundaries of masculinity, even though I understand how to speak to a woman. That to me is like that's the ultimate form. So like kind of understanding that. If you were a man and did that, you are unique. So few men know that. And John, it's getting worse because of social media. You worked for Hooters of America. You were around women. You were within 4 feet of them, having conversations with them. After a while of seeing really nice, you get used to it and it doesn't affect you anymore after the 100th or 500th time. The men today don't do that. They see doctored photographs on social media that make them believe that all women look like this. And then they get their dopamine hits through pornography that they can get unlimited amounts of for free. The other side for women is the concept that they can go on dating apps and left swipe 6,000 times for every one right swipe. For every date they go on, they'll left swipe 6,000 times.
Number?
Women are going on dating apps right now and have no intention of dating. They just get tons of attention. And the women start getting this idea that every time I left swipe on a guy, I'm better than him. And she also assumes that if I wanted to, I could make that guy I just left swiped commit to me and have a monogamous relationship with me, which of course you and I know is absurd. All those dudes on that dating app are looking for short-term sexual access to you. And if you're a man and you go on one of those dating platforms, it's 6 guys to every girl. And every time you see a woman who's attractive, she's either a prostitute, she's trying to get you down her OnlyFans funnel, or she has some sort of mental disorder. And that's like essentially what you're dealing with. And that's why like these things have become so pervasive, where men are delusional when it comes to OnlyFans, pornography, and then how they view women. And women are like massively delusional when it comes to this concept of like they think the average man makes $100,000 a year. They think the average man is 6 feet tall.
No, because you said on your you had a group of girls on his podcast, which you should check out. It's pretty cool. And in a group of girls, and he said, "What's your ideal guy?" These were younger women. Yeah. And they were like, 6'4", makes over $100,000 a year, blah, blah, blah. And then give them the stats you gave them.
Yeah. So 6'3", you're in the top 1% of height, like 6'3". Okay. So $100,000 a year, that's the top 17%. So ladies who are watching this, it's not 17% plus 1%. No. It's 17% times 1%. Yeah. That's how you get the 6'4" guy who makes $100,000 a year. Yeah. Now, if you want the 6'4" guy who's a male stripper, he's not making $100,000 a year. Most of them aren't. Sorry. And if they do make $100,000 a year, it's because they're gay for pay. Like it's crazy. but he's 6'4" and handsome, so you kind of got what you wanted. And then if you want the guy who makes $500,000, like girls don't understand. Like when you see a Lambo, like just say a Lambo, let's just say we're $260 to $400K, whatever, whatever you're going. That needs to be, unless this guy's a complete moron or he's selling crack, that needs to not be more than what, 10% of his net worth.
Oh,
bro,
no.
if you're buying a Lambo and it's 50% of your net worth,
cash for it twice, don't.
Bro, if you're buying a Lambo, and by the way, most of the guys aren't, but if you buy a Lambo and it's more than 7% of your net worth, you're a fucking moron. Like for doing that's crazy. Like, and by the way, let me tell you something else. If you buy a Lambo, the only reason why I would ever do it is for content. If I was using it for content and I could write off depreciation on the Lamborghini, I'd make my LLC own that Lamborghini. I would write off everything on that fucking thing. Then I would own a Lambo. Then I would do it. Okay. And then I'd probably lease it and trade it in for another one like a couple years later. I would make it work for me smart. Like listen to Ryan Stewman. He's so great when he talks about this stuff. Ryan Stewman is so smart when it comes to this stuff. Yeah.
Which is how grateful I am that none of those dating apps and shit existed when I was single. Like none of that, dude, when I met my wife, bro, when I met my wife, we were on MySpace and I would hit her up on AOL Instant Messenger.
That's the way it works.
That's where we were at.
I remember what I was talking about before. So it's 17% times 1% if you want 6'4" and makes $100K a year. And so, but here's the other part. The girls are like, no, but I've dated guys like that. And I always ask him, but did you lock him down? He goes, yeah, but we were engaged. Yeah, but did he marry you?
Yeah.
Did he cheat? Was he talking to other girls? They're like, yeah, but he was going to marry me. And I'm like, but did he marry you? And like, whenever you talk to a girl who's been engaged 5 times, you ever met some of those girls? Dude, super pretty.
I got a couple of them in my circle.
Yeah, they've been engaged 5 times and they like think it's normal and they don't recognize what you and I clearly know, which is no, these guys wanted short-term sexual access, but the girl was really attractive. And so they were going to say or do anything they could in order to get married, but they were never going to marry these girls. And like, it takes until the women are like in their mid 30s or 40s before they come to that realization.
Let's flip this for a second, right? Because at this point, it's been all about dude power, right? Let's talk about that, man, because like one of the things I'll tell you about Las Vegas that, you know, me and my wife talk about a lot is if you're in Vegas is like a vacuum. Like you got to go, like if you're a woman in this town, this is coming from don't call me a sexist, people. Don't save your shitty comments. My wife says this stuff. But if you're in Vegas, if you don't wrap a dude down pretty quick that's in that upper echelon, you're going to age out quick. Because a lot of these girls are like, I want this guy that makes all this money, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but now he's got Peter Pan syndrome and he's skipped down. Bro. He's after the 24-year-old. He's not after the 34-year-old.
Yeah, it's not fair here.
No.
Here, it's like I do nothing and I was dating hotter girls than I'd ever dating, you know, whatever, going to a club on stage and whatever happens, partying with the hotter girls than I'd ever been with my entire life. And there's so many more women than men here. It's like, it's the opposite. The dating app is 6 times as many dudes as women. Like nightlife industry in Vegas, it's 6 times as many women as men.
It's hard.
So it's just so easy. And like, it was one of these, so going back to what you're saying, but what we were talking about before, these women would find out that it was like like 0.6% of men met their criteria for 6'3" and 100K. And then we would look at the women. And of course, as men, we do not care about income or height. That's really big because we don't care about income and we don't care about height. No. So it was 14% of the female population versus 0.6% of the male population. And these women, they were going to lock these dudes down. And going back to what you said, in LA, I think it's different. I actually like in LA, women get treated pretty well and dudes get treated like trash. In Vegas, it's the opposite. Men get treated very well here. If you're a local and you go out on a regular basis, you get comps all the time. It's like women actually get treated kind of like cattle here. And then especially like in a couple of weeks, we've got the tryouts for all the nightlife groups. 8,000 girls are going to show up for realistically, I'm not even kidding here. There will be 60, maybe 50 new cocktail servers hired in the entire city. And I'm talking about of the top pools.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Each pool has 40 girls and most of the girls get called back. So an individual pool might hire anywhere from like 7 to 2 girls per year. And so you add up all the pools. And then the pools kind of like sometimes feed into the nightclubs. We're talking about less than 60 girls. 8,000 girls will show up. 60 will get hired.
For those of you listening to us from places
it's easier
not
to get
Las
into
Vegas.
Yeah, it's easier to get in. I saw a study. It's easier to get into Yale or Harvard than it is to become a top-tier bottle service girl in Las Vegas.
Because those girls, in case you're just wondering, make $250,000 a year.
Yes, so 250, 260 is not uncommon.
And work how many days a week? 3 days a week? 4 days a week?
They work 4 days a week. And then if you work at the pool, you make more per shift, but you only work 8 months.
Yeah. My wife, when we got together, worked at the Palms. She opened the Palms and she had the main blackjack pit from noon to 8 Monday through Friday. That was she like banker's hour shifts. She made $250,000 and normally only worked 3, maybe 4 days.
She's not walking around in a bikini at a pool.
No,
she's doing like gambling. You understand.
No, but still, she's still at her ass hanging out. I mean, that's what cocktail.
But the thing,
in a gladiator outfit, whenever it was.
The other thing that makes this city really crazy is that not only are there just so many more women than men, I cannot fathom how any single man watching this doesn't live in Vegas. I literally cannot fathom how you live anywhere else. I just don't understand. But anyway, going back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
the other thing that makes this city so disproportionate is the average man's job here, whether it be construction, VIP host, works and services, he's going to make somewhere between 60 and 100K. And the women that are the commiserate women are making 200K working at the Rhino. They're either a cocktail server, a dancer, they work in gambling, or, they're a female bartender, they're making 200K. So a lot of times you'll have a woman who's making 240 a year dating a busser who's making 60. She's making 4X.
But his band's gonna take off any day, Michael.
Exactly.
Any day. Yeah,
his OnlyFans management agency. This is gonna be the idea. Did you hear about his new NFT, John? This is the way. This NFT's the one.
His Call of Duty team's gonna get the call
for sure. His esports team. It's always like that. It's like it's a very. If you ever have a former cocktail server on here, ask her about the trope of the cocktail server who makes 240 a year, leaving her plastic surgeon boyfriend to date the busser. I don't know how, but it keeps happening over and over again. It's just so funny that it's just one of the tropes that happens here.